want to talk about something that is quietly affecting a lot of businesses and a lot of the people who work in them without anyone realizing it's a real problem. Workplace communication. Not the big dramatic breakdowns, not the obvious conflicts, the everyday stuff. The expectations that were never stated out loud. The feedback that was so carefully softened it never actually landed. The assumption that because something is obvious to you, it must be obvious to everyone in the room. These are small things individually. Any one of them might seem minor, but they add up. They show up as frustration on both sides of a conversation. They show up as employees who seem checked out or managers who feel like they're constantly putting out fires. They show up as the nagging sense that your team just isn't quite clicking the way you know it could. Here's the really crucial thing to remember about this. Most of the time, nobody is the villain. Not the manager who assumed her staff knew what professional meant to her. Not the employee who genuinely thought he was meeting expectations. Not the business owner who avoided a hard conversation because she didn't want to seem cold or corporate. They're all just people, doing their best, communicating the way they learned to communicate, which may or may not be serving them particularly well in this specific workplace with these specific people. The good news is that communication is a skill, which means it can be improved. And the improvements don't have to be enormous or overnight. Sometimes it's as simple as writing down an expectation and actually defining what it means. Sometimes it's taking 30 seconds before a hard conversation to connect to your empathy. To remember that the person you're about to talk to is a human being doing their best, just like you. Small shifts in how we communicate with each other at work can have an outsized impact. On productivity, yes, but more than that, on how people feel when they show up every day. Staff who feel clearly guided and genuinely seen do better work. They stay longer, they bring more of themselves to the job, and that ripples outward to your customers, to the experience you're able to offer them, and ultimately to the business you're building. I believe that workplaces can be places where people actually thrive, not just survive, not just clock in and clock out, but genuinely feel like the work they're doing matters and that they are valued for doing it. I think that starts with communication, with business owners and managers who are willing to look honestly at how they're communicating and ask whether it's working for everyone in the room. That's work I am deeply passionate about. And I'm currently putting something together that I think is going to make it a lot more accessible. A practical guide to workplace communication designed specifically for small business owners who care about getting this right but aren't sure where to start. If that sounds like something you would find useful, I'd love for you to be the first to know when it's ready. The sign-up link is below. In the meantime, take one thing from today. One expectation to define. One conversation to approach differently. One moment to lead with empathy before you lead with information. That's where it starts, and it's more than enough.